People who have followed me know that I've been a big proponent of agile practices for the longest time. I mean, literally since the 2010s or perhaps even earlier. During the last year or so, starting in the end of 2023, however, I have started to develop a new hypothesis. And the reason is that after having worked with the companies in Software Center for the better part of well over a decade, actually, it's 13, 14 years now, many of the companies have worked really hard at adopting agile practices. But if we look at the reality in most of the software center companies, the fact is that even though agile works at the team level, agile does not really scale beyond the team level towards the software department as a whole, engineering as a whole, the product as a whole, and the feedback loop towards the customer. And if you have been trying something for more than a decade and you still cannot get it in place, is it because you're not trying hard enough? Or is it because there is some inherent things that are missing in the paradigm that we have to go and work on? And I have now come to the conclusion that I believe that agile is no longer the right answer for many of the companies that I work with. And why is that? Well, there are a number of reasons why agile is being so difficult last time during the recent years. And that is that there is a mismatch between what the paradigm says and the reality of the companies that I'm working with. And if we look back to the Agile paradigm, what we see is that this was defined, the Agile Manifesto in 2001, by a group of consultants that worked for an individual customer that they could talk to on a continuous basis. And it was very clear they could get immediate feedback from this customer. Now, the reality for most companies is that this is absolutely not their reality. This is not what their lives looks like. They do not have access to an individual customer because they serve many customers. The product is not just containing software, but also contains mechanical parts and electronics parts. And the immediate feedback loop that Agile often adheres to and aspires to is really not what is happening in practice. So what we see is that since it became clear that the basic Agile paradigm and manifesto did not fit the companies, we've seen all kinds of developments of models that have been developed in the past. I mean, we have Scrum, we have SAFe, we have all kinds of other Agile methods that are trying to address that concern. But in practice, it turns out that many of those models are actually just faking Agile, if you want, and are not really adding the Agile principles to the end-to-end process. I mean, we have an interviewee from one of the software center companies who said, we adopted SAFe, and in practice, nothing changed. And so what we see is that many companies, what they are doing is they take the Agile core, the Agile set of ideas, they see it doesn't fit in their context because of mechanics, electronics, too many customers, a large market that they need to serve. And then they create a set of practices around it. And these practices are actually nothing else but the traditional waterfall style ways of working. So what then happens is that even though we claim and pretend to be doing Agile, we're really not doing Agile. Yeah? So we're only pretending to do Agile. So, and I think that that is the key conclusion that I feel I've been coming to for over the last year. Agile was great when it was first introduced. I mean, for those of us that are old enough to remember this, before Agile, we had the whole capability maturity model practices where every developer literally felt that they were put into a straitjacket and were trying to figure out how to operate within a very tiny box with very strictly defined processes. And people were not able to be free, they were not able to be innovative, they were not owning their own destiny. It simply did not work for many people. And Agile was the right answer for that. Agile allowed a lot more freedom and agency to individual developers and to teams. However, over the last close to 25 years, we're now in a situation where the reality in many software development or software intensive systems companies has fundamentally changed. And agile is no longer the right answer. We need to move to something else. What that something else is what we're going to be discussing in future videos. But I think that for now, it's important to conclude agile has served us great. It's a wonderful paradigm, but it has reached the end of the road. And if we want to make progress, if we want to get better at actually serving our companies, our customers, and doing better as a company, we really need to start to think about what is after agile.